The dimly lit briefing room smelled of coffee and tension, a faint hum of fluorescent lights above mixing with the low buzz of satellite screens. Maps and satellite images flickered across a wall-mounted display, showing a sprawling enemy compound deep in hostile territory. Every corner, every rooftop, and every patrol route had been meticulously highlighted with red markers, annotations scribbled by analysts who hadn't stepped foot outside a safe bunker in their lives. The room was silent, except for the low hum of air conditioning and the occasional shuffle of boots on the concrete floor. At the head of the table stood Commander Ryan Holloway, a seasoned Navy SEAL with 30 missions under his belt. His chiseled jaw tightened as he addressed the assembled team. "This mission is unlike anything we've done before. The enemy compound is heavily fortified, and intelligence indicates multiple high-value targets are inside. Extraction will be difficult. One wrong move, one miscalculated step, and it's over. There is no room for error." The team nodded in grim understanding, faces a mix of resolve and tension. Every SEAL here had trained for years, mastered countless weapon systems, and endured psychological and physical trials that most could not imagine. But even among the elite, tonight's mission was daunting. At the far side of the table, Hawkeye adjusted her rifle strap, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to the tension in the room. Her eyes, sharp and focused, reflected the blinking satellite images like a predator sizing up prey. She had earned her code name through countless successful missions, sniper kills from impossible distances, and nerves of steel that never wavered under pressure. Some whispered about her almost supernatural accuracy, though none dared say it aloud in front of her. Hawkeye didn't care for whispers. Her focus was absolute, every muscle tuned for the task at hand. Commander Holloway's eyes lingered on her. "If you miss," his voice faltered slightly, almost swallowed by the weight of the statement, "we're dead." The words hung in the air, a knife poised to cut the nerves of every soldier in the room. Hawkeye merely nodded, a silent acknowledgement that she understood the stakes better than anyone. She didn't need encouragement and she didn't need fear. Fear would ruin the mission. Precision, calculation, and timing were everything. The briefing continued with rapid-fire precision. Analysts detailed patrol patterns, timing of guards, shifts, and even the expected behavior of snipers on the enemy side. "They'll rotate every 8 minutes, one operative noted. "One lapse, one mistake, and they'll be on to us." Holloway pointed to the northern wall. "This is your primary entry point. Minimal cover but fastest route to the central compound. Sniper support will be critical." His eyes flicked to Hawkeye again, the unspoken weight of responsibility palpable. She listened silently, mentally mapping distances, angles, and wind calculations. Her mind was already calculating bullet trajectories for every potential target. The commander had warned the team multiple times. One missed shot could set off an alarm and cost lives. But for Hawkeye, missed shots didn't exist. Every decision, every calculation was precise, methodical, and deadly. Outside, the distant hum of helicopters grew louder. The insertion team was ready. They would fast-rope into dense jungle terrain near the enemy compound, a landing so precise that a miscalculation could mean broken bones or worse. Commander Holloway's voice cut through again. "Remember, the enemy is expecting nothing. That is our advantage, but they are dangerous, well-trained, and ruthless. One wrong sound, one misstep." He let the sentence hang, letting the weight of those words sink into the minds of every operative. Hawkeye adjusted the scope of her rifle, running her fingers over the metal as though reading a familiar book. She was in her element. While others in the room shifted nervously or murmured tactical concerns, she visualized the compound from her future perch, calculating sightlines and bullet drop, even considering how the wind might change over the course of the night. Every detail mattered. Failure wasn't an option, not for her, not for the team, not for the countless lives at stake. A young SEAL leaned over to whisper, "You really think she can do this?" Another shook his head. "I've never seen anyone like her. If she says she's ready, I believe it. That's all that matters." Commander Holloway caught the tail end of the whisper, his eyes narrowing. He didn't interfere. He knew Hawkeye's reputation wasn't just rumor. What she could do in 10 seconds could turn the tide of a mission that would otherwise take hours or end in disaster. Holloway tapped the table sharply. Team weapons check. Communications check. Extraction plan review. Everyone knows their role. The room became a blur of activity, rifles being checked, silencers attached, comms systems tested. Hawkeye's calm remained unshaken, almost unsettling in contrast to the tension vibrating through the room. Her focus was total. Her mind and body were perfectly synchronized with the rifle, the mission, and the calculated danger that lay ahead. As the team packed their gear and donned night vision optics, Holloway stepped back, letting the adrenaline, fear, and anticipation settle into a quiet rhythm. Outside, the whir of helicopter blades grew louder, slicing through the night air like a predator stalking prey. The SEAL team, elite and deadly, would soon descend into hostile territory, every life depending on precision, skill, and courage. Hawkeye slung her rifle, her calm a beacon amid the storm of nerves around her. Commander Holloway's final glance at her said it all. If she missed, they were all dead. And yet in her eyes there was no doubt, no hesitation, only absolute certainty. The mission would begin soon, and tonight precision would decide life or death. The night air was heavy with humidity and tension as the blacked-out helicopters sliced through the sky. Their rotors beat a deafening rhythm, a mechanical pulse that masked the subtle sounds of the jungle below. The SEAL team, harnessed and ready, waited silently. Every movement had been rehearsed 100 times. One misstep, one slip, and the mission would fail before it began. Commander Holloway scanned the perimeter, eyes sharp under the dim glow of night vision optics. He knew the risks: dense jungle, rugged terrain, unpredictable weather, and a compound bristling with enemy soldiers who would kill without hesitation. Harnesses secure. Holloway's voice was low, precise. Secure, came the synchronized reply. Hawkeye adjusted her rifle, checking the scope, the silencer, and the weight balance. Her boots were laced tight, every strap checked, every piece of equipment double-checked. The wind whispered through the churning rotor wash, carrying the faint scent of damp earth and distant smoke. She could already see the faint outline of the enemy compound below, a fortress of concrete, barbed wire, and watchtowers. Every soldier inside would be relying on their training, their instincts, and their luck, but luck wasn't a factor tonight. Skill, precision, and timing were everything. The first helicopter dipped low, the ropes dangling like tendrils into the night. The team fast-roped down with fluid efficiency, boots hitting the ground silently, the rope swinging back as if releasing a held breath. Hawkeye descended last, keeping her balance as the rotor wash slammed against the foliage. She landed on uneven terrain, immediately scanning for danger. Crickets, frogs, and the distant howl of predators filled the jungle, but she didn't notice them. Her focus was absolute. Every shadow could be an enemy, every rustle could mean death. Perimeter clear, move out, Holloway whispered. The SEALs melted into the undergrowth, moving like phantoms. Leaves snapped under boots, but the team advanced with precision, each step calculated. Hawkeye moved with them for a short stretch, then veered toward a jagged ridge overlooking the compound. It was her perch, chosen for optimal angles, sightlines, and concealment. Her rifle became an extension of her arm, the scope and eye that saw the future. From her elevated position, she could watch the enemy patrols below, patterns forming with predictable regularity. One soldier paused by a guard tower, checking the perimeter. Another adjusted his rifle. Hawkeye's eyes flicked from one target to another, calculating trajectories, distances, and timing. Commander Holloway's voice crackled softly through the comms. Eyes sharp. Timing is everything. One missed shot and it's over. Hawkeye's jaw tightened slightly, but her breathing remained steady. Her fingers hovered over the trigger, reading the wind like a second pulse. The compound was a living organism, soldiers moving in patrols, lights swinging, conversations whispered in the dark. She memorized the patrol patterns, noting the exact second each guard would pause, each shadow would shift. In her mind, she created a mental map of death and survival. Meanwhile, the rest of the team advanced along the jungle floor, shadows blending with shadows. A low hum of tension passed between them through their earpieces. Every step was deliberate, every sound suppressed. The extraction point, pre-marked for the helicopter pickup after the mission, was a long way off, but they had to get there intact. Commander Holloway kept a steady voice over comms, guiding them like a surgeon performing an intricate operation. Hawkeye noticed a patrol deviating slightly from the pattern, a risk she had anticipated. Her rifle's scope magnified the compound below, tracking movement and calculating velocity and distance in milliseconds. One soldier stepped into her line of sight, oblivious to the silent predator above. Her finger tightened on the trigger. A single breath, a single calculation, and the first strike would fall. The jungle seemed to disappear around her. Leaves, shadows, and distant insect noises became a blur. Only the target existed, and only precision mattered. Commander Holloway's words echoed in her mind, "If you miss, we're dead." Not for him, not for the team. If she missed, lives would be lost, the mission compromised. She didn't flinch. She couldn't. There was no room for error. She inhaled slowly, aligning the crosshairs, watching the wind tug at a nearby leaf. Timing, angle, distance, all converged in perfect harmony. Her training, experience, and instinct combined into a single lethal decision. She was calm, methodical, and deadly. Below, a patrolling guard stopped, surveying the tree line, oblivious to the hunter above. Another soldier adjusted his rifle, scanning the perimeter. Hawkeye's scope traced them in sequence, anticipating every move. Her heart rate remained steady, a rhythm measured in hundredths of a second. Commander Holloway's voice, steady but tense, whispered through comms again, "Remember, every shot counts. Precision saves lives." The team continued their advance, unaware of the imminent storm above. The dense jungle concealed their movement, but Hawkeye's eyes penetrated it. Every shadow, every flicker of movement, every soft footstep of the enemy had been catalogued in her mind. She was ready. When the signal came, death would descend from above, swift and absolute. The helicopter receded, leaving only the quiet pulse of the jungle and the low hum of adrenaline in the air. Hawkeye shifted her position, ensuring a clear line of fire, adjusting for elevation and wind, each movement deliberate and invisible. The enemy compound sprawled below, unaware of the fate silently stalking them. One shot, one trigger pull, and the balance of life and death would tilt. Above all, Hawkeye's focus never wavered. Calm, precise, and lethal, she became the unseen guardian of her team, a shadow poised to strike. The insertion had succeeded. The next phase of the mission was about to begin. And in the darkness, the female sniper waited, ready to redefine what the impossible truly meant. Hawkeye crouched behind jagged rocks, her rifle cradled like an extension of herself. From this ridge, the enemy compound sprawled below like a spider's web, lit faintly by floodlights and the glow of distant fires. Soldiers moved in predictable patterns, unaware of the shadow poised above, waiting for a heartbeat of hesitation. Each movement was a puzzle, each patrol a potential threat. Commander Holloway's voice crackled softly through the comms. "Remember, if you miss." The weight of his words was heavy, almost suffocating, but Hawkeye tuned it out. There was no room for fear, only precision. Her scope magnified every detail. The enemy soldiers were unaware, chatting quietly, checking the perimeter, packing in patterns that seemed almost ritualistic. Hawkeye's mind recorded every pause, every shift of weight, every blink. She visualized trajectories, distances, wind speed, even subtle elevation changes. One breath could mean the difference between life and death. Her heartbeat was steady, each pulse perfectly aligned with the calculations in her mind. She was calm, a predator poised above its prey. Below, a sentry paused at the corner of the compound, scanning the tree line. Another adjusted his rifle. Hawkeye traced the paths of each soldier, calculating time intervals. 20 meters to the left, a guard shifted, inadvertently moving into the line of another patrol. She smiled faintly, a tiny, cold acknowledgement of opportunity. Precision was her language, and she was fluent. Each second brought her closer to the first shot, a decision that could save the team or doom them all. Commander Holloway's voice came again, tense but controlled. "Eyes sharp, timing is everything. One mistake, the words trailed, heavy with consequence. Hawkeye inhaled slowly, aligning the crosshairs on her first target. The wind tugged gently at a leaf nearby, a subtle distraction she ignored. Her breathing was shallow, measured, synchronized with the pulse of the jungle below. She had trained for this moment countless times, simulations, live fire exercises, worst-case scenarios drilled into muscle memory. But nothing compared to the reality unfolding beneath her eyes. She took the shot. The rifle barely whispered, the silencer absorbing almost all sound. The sentry crumpled silently, collapsing into the shadows without alerting his comrades. Hawkeye's finger didn't tremble. Her mind was a machine of calculations and focus. Another breath, another target, another shot. Each kill was silent, precise, a prelude to chaos that had yet to awaken. From the ridge, Hawkeye observed the compound like a chessboard. Soldiers were beginning to notice something was wrong. One paused, scanning the tree line, suspicion flickering in his eyes. But it was too late. The rhythm of her shots, the invisible presence of death, disrupted their patrols before they could react. Commander Holloway whispered, almost reverently, "Good, keep it steady." Hawkeye adjusted her position, shifting slightly to maintain cover while keeping an unobstructed line of sight. The enemy compound was a maze of concrete walls, sandbags, and watchtowers, each hiding potential threats. She anticipated movements before they happened, reading body language, stance, and shadows. Her eyes flitted between targets like a predator, tracking, predicting, executing. Below, the SEAL team moved cautiously. Holloway led them through dense undergrowth, aware that one misstep could alert the enemy. Hawkeye's fire provided perfect cover. Each shot neutralized threats silently, giving the SEALs room to maneuver closer to the compound without engaging directly. Her actions were invisible but decisive, a guardian angel perched above the battlefield. Suddenly, a patrol deviated from its pattern. Two soldiers moved together, slightly faster than expected. Hawkeye's eyes narrowed, calculating angles and wind corrections in microseconds. Her rifle whispered again, too quick, silent shots taking down both men before they realized danger existed. Commander Holloway's voice, low and awed, came over comms. Unbelievable, that was perfect. Hawkeye didn't respond, she never did. Praise was unnecessary. Precision, focus, and timing were all that mattered. The mission's stakes had not lessened. Every remaining guard was still a threat, every corner still held danger. And yet, despite the chaos she had unleashed silently, Hawkeye remained in immovable calm. The compound was beginning to stir. A dog barked faintly, a single flare illuminated a small section of the yard. Soldiers started to communicate, confusion rippling through their ranks, yet none had eyes for the sniper perched high above. Her presence was invisible, untouchable. Each second she waited, each target she analyzed, was a heartbeat closer to total control. Commander Holloway's voice reminded her of the stakes again. One missed shot, we're dead. Hawkeye's finger tightened on the trigger. One breath, another target, click, another breath, click. Each kill sent ripples through the compound, silently dismantling the enemy's confidence and morale. The SEALs continued advancing, moving like shadows through the dense foliage. They relied on her above, unaware that the battlefield's tide had already shifted. Every calculation, every movement was precise. Hawkeye's eyes darted between patrols, crosshairs tracing invisible lines of fate. The enemy was beginning to realize something was amiss, but panic had not yet set in. Commander Holloway's voice cut through again, quieter now, almost a whisper of awe. Keep them blind, keep them guessing. Hawkeye adjusted her scope slightly, tracking 3 soldiers who had broken from the main patrol, moving toward an entrance she had marked earlier. Bullet trajectories accounted for wind, elevation, and distance. She exhaled slowly, then pressed the trigger. 3 more silently collapsed into the darkness. Each shot was a statement. The hunter was in control. The compound was her chessboard, every soldier a piece she moved with deadly precision. As the seconds ticked by, the enemy remained unaware of the force orchestrating their destruction. Hawkeye's calm dominated the battlefield, and her team below advanced steadily, each step measured, each movement deadly. Commander Holloway's respect for her skill was tangible, transmitted in the silence that followed every precise shot. One sniper atop a ridge had shifted the balance of power. The mission was unfolding, and Hawkeye's eyes saw every step, every movement, every heartbeat of the enemy. In the darkness, Hawkeye remained the unseen force. The first shots had been fired. The enemy was unsettled, the SEALs moving forward, and the ridge had become a throne of precision and control. The night had only just begun, and every calculation she had made was about to be tested against the chaos of combat. The night erupted into chaos, though not a single alarm had sounded. Soldiers scrambled through the compound, confusion and fear spreading like wildfire. Hawkeye, perched high on the ridge, observed every movement, her scope tracing each flailing figure with cold precision. One by one, enemy guards who had thought themselves safe were eliminated silently, efficiently. The SEAL commander's words echoed in her mind. "If you miss, we're dead." She hadn't missed. Below, the enemy soldiers were realizing something was horribly wrong. Patrols overlapped, formations collapsed, and shouts of alarm rang out, but the source remained unseen. Some guards dove for cover, others froze, scanning shadows, trying to find the invisible predator who was reshaping the battlefield from above. Every movement, every attempted escape was anticipated. Hawkeye's finger rested lightly on the trigger, ready to extinguish any flicker of life that threatened her team. Commander Holloway whispered through the comms, tension thick in his voice. "If you miss, we're dead." He didn't need to remind her, but the words underscored the stakes. Each SEAL moved like a shadow below, advancing cautiously, relying entirely on the sniper to neutralize threats before they could react. The compound was alive with panic, soldiers shouting orders, the occasional bark of a dog, the glint of rifles aiming blindly. Yet Hawkeye's calm was unshakable. She was a machine of death, every shot deliberate, each calculation perfect. From her vantage point, the enemy seemed almost like puppets on strings. She tracked their patterns, predicting movements before they occurred. One soldier dove behind a low wall, unaware that another was stepping directly into her line of fire. 2 calculated breaths later, both were gone, collapsing silently into the shadows. The ripple effect began. Guards who had been confident in their routines were now flailing, breaking formation, unsure who or what was striking them. Hawkeye's eyes scanned quickly for the next threat. Another patrol rounded a corner, 3 soldiers moving in tandem. She accounted for distance, wind, and bullet drop, adjusting her aim imperceptibly. A breath in, a breath out. Click, click, click. 3 more enemies fell before they could raise an alarm. Commander Holloway's voice floated through comms, a mixture of awe and disbelief. Unbelievable, keep it steady." Her calm, mechanical precision contrasted sharply with the chaos below. Soldiers ran blindly, tripping over rubble, shouting orders to each other and attempting to regroup. None could see her, none could anticipate her next move. Her mind cataloged every second, every potential risk, every trajectory of every bullet. Each kill was not only precise but strategic. She was carving paths of safety for her team, guiding them without a word. One enemy officer tried to rally his men, waving his arms, shouting commands, but his voice faltered as another bullet silently claimed him. Panic grew contagious. Soldiers began firing blindly, hitting walls, barricades, even fellow soldiers in their confusion. Hawkeye adjusted for moving targets, multiple threats in her scope at once. The SEALs below advanced steadily, shields invisible, hearts pounding with adrenaline, relying entirely on her lethal oversight. The compound, once a fortress of control, had become a labyrinth of fear. Soldiers ducked behind vehicles, peeked cautiously from corners, but their movements were all anticipated. Hawkeye shifted slightly, maintaining cover while tracking the remaining threats. Her eyes were constantly calculating, predicting, preparing. She was calm in the storm, a predator above the chaos. Her presence felt only in the silence after each precise shot. Commander Holloway's whispers became more urgent. "Keep them blind, keep them guessing. Don't let them regroup." His voice was taut with tension, yet trust underlined every word. The team below continued their methodical advance, moving as shadows, relying on the invisible hand orchestrating the battlefield above. Every shot Hawkeye fired disrupted enemy confidence, turning what could have been a bloodbath into controlled chaos in favor of the SEALs. A flare suddenly ignited near a guard tower, temporarily illuminating a wide section of the courtyard. Soldiers squinted, weapons raised, unsure where the threats were coming from. Hawkeye's crosshairs tracked the illuminated targets effortlessly. One breath, one squeeze, click. Two soldiers collapsed into the shadows, the flare reflecting off the empty air above. Panic turned to full-blown terror. Soldiers shouted, ducked, tripped over debris, and even fired in directions they believed safe. Each movement was anticipated, each shot calculated, each moment expanding the vacuum of fear. From her ridge, Hawkeye could see the SEALs maneuvering toward the main entrance, the compound's heart. Enemy forces had fragmented completely, disorganized, unsure of which shadows were threats and which were illusions. Commander Holloway's voice crackled. "You've turned this into a massacre without anyone realizing it. Incredible," but she didn't respond. Her focus was total, her calculations continuous. 1 second of hesitation could allow a single guard to alert the entire compound. There was no room for error. Hawkeye shifted slightly again, picking out a trio of soldiers moving toward a reinforced gate. She accounted for all variables: distance, elevation, wind, even the unpredictable bounce of the bullets across metal and concrete. A steady breath, a measured squeeze, click. The three fell silently, bodies slumping into darkness. The panic below deepened. Soldiers were now running blindly, disorganized, ineffective. Her team had safe corridors to advance through the compound, entirely thanks to her precision. Minutes stretched like hours. The SEALs moved cautiously, picking their way through the shadows, aware that the sniper above was both their shield and their sword. Enemy morale had collapsed entirely, confusion reigning supreme. Hawkeye remained immovable, her focus unbroken, eyes sweeping across the battlefield. She wasn't just a sniper. She was a force of nature, controlling the outcome of an entire operation from a single, hidden perch. The first wave of enemy panic had passed, but the threat was far from over. Hawkeye's fingers hovered on the trigger, ready for any remaining stragglers, any patrols attempting to regroup. Commander Holloway's words, whispered and tense, reminded her of the stakes. "If you miss, we're dead." She didn't miss. She never did. The battlefield was hers to command, and her team relied on nothing but her unwavering precision. In the night, Hawkeye remained unseen, lethal, and utterly in control. Below, the enemy faltered, the SEALs advanced, and the mission pressed forward, one calculated shot at a time. Panic had set in, the compound was unraveling, and the team was alive because of one woman's unmatched skill and focus. Tonight, death had a name, and it was silent. The courtyard erupted into chaos as enemy reinforcements poured out of the compound. Soldiers shouting orders, rifles swinging, and panic spreading like wildfire, yet none knew where the lethal force came from. Hawkeye's scope traced every movement, every twitch, every mistake. Her finger hovered over the trigger, steady, unflinching. 25 soldiers scattered, moving unpredictably, yet she saw them all. Time slowed in her mind. 10 seconds would decide life or death, not just for her team, but for the entire mission. Commander Holloway's whisper crackled through comms. "Brace yourselves, she's about to make history." Hawkeye exhaled slowly, steadying herself, focusing entirely on the first target. Bullet trajectories were pre-calculated in microseconds. Wind, distance, angle, elevation, every variable accounted for. She fired. A guard dropped. Without hesitation, another breath, another squeeze. Another went down. In a fluid rhythm, she unleashed precision fire with terrifying speed. 1, 2, 3 targets fell silently, efficiently, almost invisible to the chaos around them. The enemy soldiers were unaware of the sniper perched above. Some dove for cover, some scrambled blindly, others fired wildly, hopping to strike a phantom. Hawkeye's calculations accounted for all possibilities. She shifted slightly, adjusting for moving targets, for clustered soldiers, for ricochets off metal and concrete. Click, click, click. Another 3 soldiers eliminated in the blink of an eye. Commander Holloway's disbelief was palpable. She's unstoppable. Every shot was precise, every kill strategic. Hawkeye wasn't just shooting, she was sculpting the battlefield, carving safe paths for the SEALs below. The courtyard, once a place of enemy dominance, was now a landscape of controlled chaos. Soldiers fell before they could react, some in pairs, some individually, each movement predicted and countered. Her rifle was an extension of her will, her mind calculating the impossible. Seconds passed. Hawkeye's heart rate remained steady. Her focus was unbroken. 10, 20, 30, no, 25 targets. 25 enemies neutralized in 10 seconds. The impossible feat she had trained for countless times in simulations had become reality. Below, the SEALs moved forward, flanking and clearing the compound, relying on the destruction she had orchestrated from above. Commander Holloway's voice, awed and tense, cut through comms. "She's done the impossible, God help anyone left alive." The enemy's morale shattered completely. Soldiers dropped weapons, froze in terror, or ran blindly, unsure which shadows were real threats. Hawkeye adjusted for the last few stragglers attempting to regroup. Click. 2 more eliminated. The courtyard was silent, save for muffled shouts, the rustle of uniforms, and the soft thud of bodies hitting the ground. Panic had become paralysis. She had changed the battle in 10 seconds, and the compound was now hers to control from above. Commander Holloway allowed himself a deep breath. He knew that without Hawkeye's intervention, half the team would have been trapped or killed. Her skill had turned certain disaster into controlled victory. The SEALs below pressed forward, clearing rooms and securing objectives, moving like shadows, ghosts of a plan meticulously executed. Her rifle remained ready, scanning the remaining areas, covering every angle, ensuring no threat could emerge unnoticed. Hawkeye's mind was already working ahead, calculating the next moves, predicting the enemy's attempts to flee, hide, or retaliate. Every step the SEALs took was protected by her invisible precision. One woman, one rifle had rewritten the rules of engagement. The impossible had become possible through focus, training, and nerves of steel. Commander Holloway's respect for her had grown exponentially. She wasn't just a sniper. She was a force of nature, a guardian, and a silent executioner. From her perch, Hawkeye observed the aftermath. The courtyard, once teeming with armed men, was now littered with bodies, weapons abandoned in panic, and soldiers fleeing into the shadows. The SEALs moved quickly, exploiting the gaps she had created, securing hostages and collecting vital intelligence. Hawkeye adjusted her scope again, ensuring the remaining perimeter was clear, covering their exit path. Every shot had a purpose, every breath a calculated moment in the deadly ballet. The impossible feat had a cost. Concentration and focus drained her, yet she remained calm, alert. The battlefield was alive with chaos, but she was the eye of the storm, controlling the ebb and flow of the fight. Commander Holloway's voice, steady now, carried a mixture of awe, respect, and relief. "We're moving. Extractions in 5. Hawkeye, you've done what no one else could." She didn't respond. Praise was irrelevant. Her job wasn't recognition. It was survival and mission success. Yet in the calm of her mind there was satisfaction. Precision had won, lives had been saved, and the team could move forward without further threat from the courtyard she had dominated. The impossible had been executed flawlessly. The courtyard fell silent except for the distant shouts of retreating soldiers and the soft scuffle of the SEALs moving through the compound. Hawkeye scanned for any remaining threats, her focus unbroken. The impossible feat, the elimination of 25 enemies in 10 seconds, was not only a testament to her skill, but a turning point in the mission. Every step the SEALs took was now guided by the invisible hand of precision above them. As the first hints of dawn brushed the horizon, Hawkeye exhaled slowly, lowering her rifle slightly while maintaining alertness. The impossible had been achieved, yet the mission was not over. Extraction points awaited, hostages still needed securing, and enemy reinforcements could still appear. But for now, she had shifted the battlefield in seconds. The impossible was hers, and the SEALs owed their survival to the calm, lethal force perched above the chaos. Tonight, 25 men had fallen before they even realized the danger. The impossible had become reality, and the female sniper remained unseen, unshaken, unstoppable. The courtyard lay in eerie silence, the chaos of 10 seconds ago reduced to disarrayed bodies and abandoned weapons. Hawkeye scanned every corner from her perch on the ridge, eyes narrowing as she tracked the SEALs moving below. Commander Holloway led the advance, motioning silently for the team to fan out, clearing lanes through the courtyard and into the compound's central corridors. Every step was deliberate, every movement synchronized with the lethal coverage above. They were ghosts moving through a landscape of terror that Hawkeye had orchestrated, a chessboard of life and death perfectly calculated. "Eyes up! Stay tight," Holloway whispered. His team moved like shadows, boots barely touching the ground, rifles ready. Hawkeye's scope traced every potential threat. A lone guard hiding behind debris, a soldier crouched near a stairwell, a corner obscured by darkness. Her finger hovered over the trigger. Each shot was ready, if needed, to ensure the team's safety. The SEALs reached the first entrance into the main building. Holloway's hand signaled for cover fire as they breached, clearing rooms with tactical precision. Inside, dust hung in the air, mingling with the acrid scent of spent gunpowder and fear. Enemy combatants, disoriented by Hawkeye's perfect assault, either surrendered immediately or froze, unsure which shadows held life or death. Hawkeye's eyes flicked to the windows above and the corridors below, scanning relentlessly. One misstep, one soldier left unchecked, could still change the mission's outcome. "Clear," whispered the team's point man, signaling through hand gestures. Hawkeye adjusted her scope, scanning the perimeter outside, ensuring no reinforcements could interfere. Below, the SEALs moved through the compound like phantoms, extracting hostages and collecting vital intel. Hawkeye's eyes caught a flicker of movement, a patrol attempting to flank the southern corridor. She exhaled, aligned the crosshairs, and fired. The soldier collapsed silently. The SEALs didn't even need to notice. Her precision cleared their path. Commander Holloway gestured for a halt near a central stairwell. "Stack up," he whispered. Each operator pressed against the wall, weapons ready. Hawkeye shifted her position slightly, ensuring the upper floors were covered. Enemy soldiers might attempt to regroup on balconies or stairwells. She would neutralize any threat before it became a danger. Her calm, mechanical precision provided a safety net the team relied on instinctively. Through the compound's hallways, dust and faint blood mingled. The SEALs moved methodically, covering each doorway and corner. Every room was a potential trap, every hallway a gauntlet. Hawkeye's scope moved seamlessly between targets, adjusting for moving threats and unseen angles. A lone soldier tried to conceal himself behind a barricade. Hawkeye's calculation was instantaneous. Click! He fell, a silent guardian ensuring her team's path remained unthreatened. Hostages were found in a small office at the compound's rear. Holloway knelt beside them, providing calm reassurance, motioning for the SEALs to secure the area. Outside, Hawkeye continued to monitor potential threats, her finger never leaving the trigger. Every detail mattered: the sway of a curtain, the flicker of a flashlight, the rustle of uniforms. Each movement was catalogued, and every threat neutralized before it could act. Suddenly, a flare illuminated the courtyard below, the enemy's attempt at signaling reinforcements. Hawkeye's eyes flicked to a group of 5 soldiers moving toward the breach. She accounted for distance, elevation, and the unpredictable bounce of bullets. In a fluid sequence, 5 more soldiers fell into the shadows. The SEALs below paused briefly, their path cleared yet again by her unseen hand. Commander Holloway whispered into the comms, awe and disbelief evident. "This woman is unreal." The team advanced toward the central command room, the intelligence hub they had been tasked to secure. Each step was calculated, movements fluid and synchronized. Enemy soldiers who had survived Hawkeye's initial assault tried to mount resistance, but her oversight eliminated threats before they could interfere. Her shots were precise, lethal, and silent, a ghostly barrier ensuring her team's safety. Inside the command room, the SEALs discovered documents, computers, and evidence of planned attacks. Holloway motioned for collection. Meanwhile, Hawkeye scanned the perimeter outside the windows and doorways, her mind tracking every potential approach route of reinforcements. One misstep, One unnoticed soldier could compromise the mission in seconds, but her calm dominance of the battlefield ensured no threat went unchecked. Time stretched, each second a heartbeat of tension. Hawkeye's breathing was steady, her body a machine of precision and calculation. The SEALs moved like shadows, unseen but deadly, each maneuver perfectly synchronized with her coverage from above. The courtyard remained littered with enemy casualties and chaos, and Hawkeye's eyes never left the perimeter. "Extraction in 5 minutes," Holloway whispered. The team continued clearing rooms, hostages secured, intel collected. Enemy forces were disoriented, no longer a threat, and the mission's outcome leaned toward success. But Hawkeye knew the danger was not yet over. Reinforcements could arrive, miscalculations could be fatal, and the ridge, though advantageous, could be compromised. She remained vigilant, scanning, calculating, anticipating. As the SEALs reached the final corridor leading to the extraction point, Hawkeye allowed herself a brief moment to breathe, though her eyes never wavered. She had orchestrated the perfect balance between lethal precision and mission support. Every shot, every observation, every calculation had facilitated the team's advance. Her presence had turned an impossible mission into a controlled, calculated success. Minutes later, the team reached the extraction point. Hawkeye's scope traced the perimeter one last time, ensuring no stragglers, no ambushes, no surprises. Commander Holloway gestured for the team to board the waiting helicopters, the rotors slicing through the night air. Hawkeye remained the last to leave, providing cover as the team ascended. Every shot had been accounted for, every threat neutralized, and every step toward extraction calculated with lethal precision. From her ridge, Hawkeye watched the team vanish into the night sky. The mission had been a success, thanks to one woman's unparalleled skill and calm under fire. She lowered her rifle slowly, eyes sweeping the battlefield one final time. The SEALs were safe, the objective secured, and the enemy left in chaos. Precision had won. Focus had saved lives, and the mission had survived because Hawkeye had remained the unseen guardian of the operation, lethal and unstoppable. The distant hum of helicopter blades grew louder, slicing through the tense night air. The extraction point was in sight, a small clearing at the edge of the compound where the SEALs had pre-planned their pickup. Commander Holloway led the team cautiously, scanning every angle, every shadow. The courtyard and corridors had been cleared, hostages secured, and intelligence gathered, but danger was far from over. Enemy reinforcements could arrive any second, and the team's exit was still a gauntlet of lethal unpredictability. Hawkeye remained on the ridge, her eyes trained on the perimeter. Every movement below, every shadow that flickered in the moonlight was catalogued in her mind. Her rifle was poised, a silent promise of deadly precision. One misstep by the SEALs, one unnoticed soldier, and the extraction could become a massacre. Her focus was absolute. "Perimeter clear for now," Holloway whispered into comms, his voice taut with tension. His eyes swept the clearing ahead. Dust kicked up from debris, and distant shouts from confused enemy soldiers echoed faintly through the compound. They were disoriented from Hawkeye's earlier strike, but desperation could turn them into a lethal threat. The SEALs approached the helicopters cautiously, weapons raised, moving in coordinated precision. Suddenly, a patrol emerged from a collapsed building on the southern edge. 5 soldiers moving in a line, rifles raised, shouting orders. Hawkeye's eyes tracked them instantly. Without hesitation, she fired. Click, 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 3 eliminated silently, 2 others dropping behind cover. The SEALs didn't need to notice. Her precision had cleared the path, creating a safe corridor to the choppers. Commander Holloway's voice, barely a whisper of awe, came through comms. Unbelievable again. The team reached the edge of the clearing, preparing for final approach. Rotor wash from the helicopters stirred dust and debris, reducing visibility. Enemy soldiers who had survived Hawkeye's assault attempted to regroup, shouting and firing blindly. Hawkeye's scope traced every movement, predicting trajectories, angles, and timing. She fired again, neutralizing the last immediate threats before they could endanger the team. Hawkeye's eyes flicked to the north. Reinforcements were attempting to flank the extraction point, moving in small clusters under the cover of darkness. She calculated distances, wind, and bullet drop in milliseconds. One breath, click. Another breath, click. 4 more eliminated before they realized the danger. The courtyard, once chaotic, now became a corridor of survival, dictated entirely by her deadly oversight. Commander Holloway signaled for the team to move. The SEALs ran in formation toward the helicopters, covering the hostages and intelligence. Hawkeye's shots continued to pick off isolated threats, ensuring no enemy soldier could fire accurately at the approaching team. The rotor blades whipped the night air, a reminder that every second counted. A sudden explosion rocked the edge of the clearing, a secondary trap set by remaining enemy forces. Smoke and dust filled the air. The SEALs ducked instinctively, shielding the hostages. Hawkeye adjusted her scope, tracking 3 soldiers who had attempted to take advantage of the chaos. Click. Each fell silently, the threat eliminated before it could impact the extraction. Her precision had turned a potential ambush into controlled safety. Holloway glanced back at the ridge, hand signals confirming that the sniper above was covering their retreat. The SEALs pushed forward, sprinting the final meters under rotor wash, navigating through scattered debris and uneven terrain. Enemy fire sporadically cracked in the distance, but Hawkeye's lethal coverage ensured none of the bullets reached the team. Every step toward the helicopter was monitored, calculated, and protected. One of the SEALs stumbled, a twisted ankle in the rough terrain. Holloway signaled for cover, ensuring the remaining members provided suppressive fire. Hawkeye's eyes flicked to the nearest potential threats. 3 soldiers emerging from a side corridor were eliminated in a fluid sequence, their rifles dropping silently to the ground. The SEALs were moving again, faster now, guided by her invisible hand. The first helicopter reached the clearing, skids touching the dust-choked earth. The SEALs formed a perimeter around the boarding point, guiding hostages safely toward the aircraft. Hawkeye continued to monitor enemy positions, firing when necessary to maintain the corridor of safety. Each shot was silent, precise, and calculated, ensuring the SEALs could embark without interference. Time was critical. Reinforcements from outside the compound could arrive at any second. Holloway's eyes scanned the tree line, signaling the last 2 SEALs to board. Hostages secured, intelligence in hand, the team was nearly ready to lift off. Hawkeye fired once more at an approaching enemy, the sound muffled and controlled. The path was clear. The helicopters began to ascend, rotor blades kicking up dust and scattering debris like a storm. The SEALs clung to rails, hostages safely inside, Holloway taking a final glance at the courtyard below. Enemy forces were scattered, disoriented, unable to respond effectively. The impossible had been executed flawlessly. Hawkeye remained perched briefly, scanning for lingering threats, ensuring the SEAL's exit remained uninterrupted. Once satisfied, she exhaled slowly, lowering her rifle. Her eyes, sharp and unwavering, had guided the team through impossible odds. The mission had shifted from near-certain danger to controlled success, all because of her unmatched skill and lethal precision. As the helicopters disappeared into the night, carrying the team to safety, Hawkeye finally allowed herself a fraction of relief. The impossible feat of the sniper attack had saved lives, cleared the compound, and ensured the mission's success. Yet her vigilance remained. The battlefield had been conquered through precision, courage, and relentless focus. Every SEAL on the ground owed their lives to the unseen guardian above, the silent force who turned chaos into calculated victory. The night air fell silent again. The extraction had succeeded, the team survived, and the enemy had been decimated. Hawkeye's legend was no longer a rumor, it was reality. She was calm, deadly, unstoppable. The impossible had been achieved, and the SEALs were alive because of her. The helicopters rose steadily into the night sky, carrying the SEAL team, hostages, and critical intelligence away from the compound that had once seemed impenetrable. Dust swirled and debris scattered below, but the enemy forces were no longer organized enough to mount any pursuit. The SEALs leaned against the interior walls, catching their breath, adrenaline still pumping, yet every eye was on Commander Holloway, who gave a nod of acknowledgement. Mission success was in their hands, and every member understood that they owed it to one person above all: Hawkeye. From the ridge, Hawkeye remained for a moment, scanning the compound one last time. Every shadow, every corner had been cleared, every remaining enemy neutralized or fleeing. She exhaled slowly, lowering her rifle, feeling the weight of what had been accomplished. 25 enemies eliminated in 10 seconds, the entire compound secured, hostages rescued, and SEALs alive, against impossible odds. Her calm precision had turned chaos into controlled victory, and the team's survival was a testament to her skill. Below, the SEALs prepared for exfiltration to their forward base. Holloway's voice, calm but reverent, broke the tense silence. Everyone accounted for. Good. This mission is history because we followed procedure, and because one of us had the skill to make the impossible happen. A few murmurs of agreement circled the cabin, respect evident in every glance. The team knew exactly who he meant. Hawkeye finally descended from her perch, moving to the extraction point as the helicopters circled back to land nearby. Commander Holloway met her with a nod that said more than words ever could. She didn't need praise, didn't need recognition. The mission was complete. But in that moment, the weight of survival and success rested heavily on her shoulders. She allowed herself the briefest acknowledgement of relief. The SEALs debriefed quickly in the helicopter. Data collected from the compound, intelligence on enemy operations, and confirmation of hostages were reviewed. Every member of the team contributed, yet the impact of Hawkeye's sniper coverage was undeniable. The corridors of the compound had been lethal traps, neutralized silently from above. The impossible feat, eliminating 25 armed enemies in 10 seconds, had shifted the balance, ensuring the mission's success with surgical precision. Commander Holloway's voice softened but carried the weight of leadership and respect. Hawkeye, you didn't just cover us. You redefined what a sniper can do. Every life saved, every movement executed safely is because of you. Hawkeye responded with a simple nod, her focus never leaving the mission, yet a faint spark of satisfaction reflected in her eyes. She had been the unseen guardian, the silent force whose skill turned disaster into triumph. Below the helicopter, the compound receded into the distance. Enemy reinforcements were scattered, disorganized, and demoralized. The mission had struck fear into them, and the intelligence captured would prevent countless future attacks. Every SEAL on board understood the scale of what had been accomplished. Hawkeye's name, already whispered in legend among elite units, had now been etched into operational history. The team prepared for final landing at the forward base. Communication lines confirmed safe passage, extraction paths, and debrief schedules. Hawkeye remained vigilant, scanning the horizon, noting subtle changes in wind, shadows, and terrain even in apparent safety. Her instincts remained razor-sharp. The battlefield may have been left behind, but her role as protector never wavered. When the helicopters touched down, the SEALs disembarked with careful precision, hostages escorted safely, and intelligence secured. Commander Holloway turned to Hawkeye with quiet authority. This mission was life or death. You gave everyone a chance to live. Don't forget it. She allowed herself the faintest smile, knowing recognition wasn't necessary, but respect mattered, and in that moment it was fully earned. The debrief began immediately. Enemy layouts, patrol schedules, and potential threats were cataloged, analyzed, and documented. Hawkeye remained in the background, the quiet linchpin of the operation. Questions were asked, reports delivered, but every tactical discussion circled back to the reality she had created from the ridge. Precision, timing, and focus had determined survival. 25 enemies eliminated in 10 seconds was more than skill, it was legend. Later, as the team rested, Hawkeye finally allowed herself a private moment to reflect. The adrenaline faded, leaving a profound awareness of what had occurred. Lives had been saved, objectives completed, and the impossible had been achieved. Every calculation, every precise action, every second of deadly focus had paid off. She had been the invisible force guiding the mission to success, the silent guardian of every SEAL below. Commander Holloway approached her one final time before the team disbanded for rest. "Hawkeye," he said quietly, "what you did tonight, words can't capture it. The team owes their lives to you. Never forget that." She nodded, acknowledging the gravity of the statement. She never needed accolades, but the respect of those who understood the stakes mattered more than anything. The sun began to rise, casting pale light over the forward base. The operation was over, the mission complete. Enemy forces neutralized, hostages safe, intelligence secured, and the SEALs intact. Hawkeye's role had been silent but decisive, a legend in her own right, a reminder of the precision and calm required to turn the tide of impossible odds. As the team prepared for the next mission, Hawkeye looked toward the horizon. Her rifle rested across her lap, her mind already cataloging the night's events, analyzing, learning, preparing. The impossible had been accomplished. The SEALs were alive, and a single sniper, perched unseen above chaos, had made all the difference. In the end, the story would spread, quietly whispered among elite circles. If you miss, we're dead, but Hawkeye never missed. The mission was complete, and history would remember the night when precision, courage, and calm turned the impossible into reality.